Hello friends, so welcome to this lecture on Azure Disk Encryption demo. So in this lecture we'll try to see how we can enable encryption onto the Azure VM and the OS and data disk which is attached. So before starting this lecture, if you remember in the previous lectures we have already discussed that enabling the disk encryption or by enabling the encryption, this is, you can say, a control with the help of which one of the control to harden our VM with the help of which we'll be able to encrypt or protect the sensitive data which is stored onto our virtual machines. So it is very crucial that if sensitive data is there, we should enable the disk encryption. Now in order to perform this demo, there are few steps which we'll be creating. First of all, in order to save the time, I have already created the VM so that we can use the VM OS and data disk to encrypt it rather than uh, rather than you can say spending up the time in creating the VM. So the steps we are going to take is we'll create a key vault and we'll create a secret within the key vault or create a key, and then in order to provide the access to the VM so that it can retrieve the key, we'll provide access, we'll change the access policies, and then we'll provide key and key details so that we can enable encryption for that VM. So first step, let's create a key vault. Without wasting much time, let's move on to the Azure portal and let's create, because the VM we have already created, if you'll see SA-VM1 we have already created. Now we'll go to the key vault and here we are. Now as you can see, there is no key vault. Let's create a key vault. Make sure that the key vault which we have created is in the same region in which we have created our VM or resource. So the resource we have already created, security architects hyphen resource group. I'll name the key vault SA hyphen key vault for the uh, Azure disk encryption. Okay, and then the location we'll choose is East US because this is where we have our VM, and then we'll next would be the access policy. So this is like the will select this. If you'll select this, you can see the description that specifies whether Azure disk encryption is permitted to retrieve secrets from the vault and unwrap keys. So here we are providing the access to the virtual machine so that it can get the data. So here you can select all permissions, but in the actual scenario do not select all permissions. So and then we'll create on networking. So let's allow all network as of now, but in your actual scenario or actual production network, you need to actually specify that which all services and endpoints would be required access to your key vault. So we'll create that key vault. It will take some time to create the key vault. So till that point of time, I'm going to pause the video. So once it is created, we'll we'll bring the we'll try to do a rest of our demo. So till that point of time, I'm going to pause my video. So our deployment is complete. So let's go to that particular resource. Now we'll go to the keys and we'll generate some keys. Let's generate. Name would be key hyphen disk ADE. You can say Azure disk encryption. We'll choose the RSA and we'll enable and we'll create a key over here. So key has been successfully created. Right now the access we have already provided and the permissions we have provided. Now what we can do is, now we'll go to the virtual machine which we have created and we'll try to use this particular encryption key. We'll go to disk, and if you'll see the OS disk, it is saying that encryption not enabled. So we'll click on encryption and we need to select the OS disk because the data disk we have not attached. So let's say if you need to enable the encryption onto the data disk. So make sure that okay, that data disk has been mounted by logging onto the virtual machine. So we'll select this, select a key vault and a key for encryption because we have already created. So if you remember, this is the key vault we have already created, and the key ADE, and the version you can select this. So we'll select this and we'll save it. So it will restart the machine and will take few seconds to enable the encryption onto our disk. So it will again take a couple of minutes to do that. So for the time being, I'm going to stop the video. Once it is done, we'll come back. So it seems to that the encryption has been enabled. So we'll go to our virtual machine. We'll check that okay, the encryption which was in progress has been enabled or not. So you can see earlier it was not enabled. Now the encryption is enabled, and since we have already provided the permissions to the key vault for to this virtual machine so that it can retrieve the keys from the key vault, therefore it was showing when we selected the that particular key vault, and then the encryption has been enabled. So this is it, friends, in this lecture. In this lecture, what we have done is we have created a key vault, then we have created a key within that. We provided access to that key vault so that that particular VM can access and retrieve those keys, and then we provide key vault and key details to enable the encryption onto the VM1 OS disk. So like I said, data disk encryption, you can do that, but for that you need to mount that particular disk by login to that VM. So thank you, friends. Thank you for watching this lecture. Meet you in the next lecture. Thank you.